for like the format of the competition. It's really like it inspires a lot of competitive strategy and playing with the way that OGL is hosted. I really like it because it requires an extreme amount of consistency. Anyway, here we go. So here we are. This is match number 4, the last match of the day of the quarterfinals of NDC edition number 2. We have Deska versus velv versus nehyzo versus Nusky, another SPF player. This is going to be a big one probably because all these players I think are actually not too bad. So this will probably be a bit of a close round among a lot of players, is my guess. Deska, being a veteran in Dirt in a way, he's also a TMGL mapper. You know, Nadeo has recognized him as being a top-tier map maker. We also have nehyzo, who in TM 2020 has really stepped up and become a really good player. nehyzo is seed number 4, I believe, and Deska, I want to say, is seed number 5. So we could see some really close battles here. Anyway, we're about to start with round number 1 on the map, Impact by Firestorm. Good luck to everyone, and let's get into this. Okay, into the first turn. We have Deska leading the pack already, trailed just by nehyzo. nehyzo going for a clean no slide. He gets it nicely. Deska going much wider, so he might have some more exit speed. But actually, nehyzo has a little bit better. nehyzo going for more inside line. velv also doing good here. I mean, this is really, really close to start with. Nusky a little bit behind, but velv showing he's a lot faster than I expected him to be from that seeding, but he's doing really good here. nehyzo making a slight mistake, so we see velv trailing just behind Deska. Deska getting a slightly better turn here. Gets a nice uphill. velv losing the gear, that's not going to be good for him. He might get passed by nehyzo here. nehyzo just behind him. Deska looking like he's going to take this first place. Let's see, nehyzo trying to catch up to velv, get that 6-pointer. velv touches, and Deska wins the first round of a 104.79. nehyzo in second, velv in third, Nusky in fourth. That's really weird, Dantifast. I don't know why that would happen. Moving on to the second round, we have Deska, who got 10 points, so let's see if he can continue this and do another good round. He's a very experienced competitive player, so I would not be surprised if he takes the win on this, but like I said, nehyzo is also really fast, and I have no idea how well velv and Nusky could do. They could really pull something out here, something really special. So Nusky's a little bit far behind. velv also a little bit behind in this round, so let's just stick with nehyzo and Deska, who are within 0.05 of each other. Deska going a little bit wider, both keeping the gear. Deska maybe being a little bit slower on that exit, so nehyzo has the advantage here. He's going to take this turn a little bit wide, and Deska is behind him. Deska getting a slight lift off, but I think he got the gear, so he's fine. Both of them are in the same gear. Deska going a little bit more inside, so both are losing. Both lost that gear, so equal exchange there. nehyzo getting a little bit of a bump, but it seems like he's ahead. Oh yes, nehyzo is going to get this one for sure with a very nice time of 104.58. Only about 0.5 behind world record, so very nice time from him. So let's take a look from nehyzo's perspective again. We have 16 to 16, both these players. We only have 2 rounds in, so there's no telling who's going to do what in this round, but Deska going ahead, and nehyzo really getting that no slide lane down to a science. And Deska and nehyzo are neck and neck once again. Looking from velv's perspective, we have that he's just sitting there and battling out with Nusky for that 3rd place. So we can watch from this perspective here as Deska and nehyzo battle it out in the front. Velv getting a little bit farther ahead of Nusky, so he might, well actually no, Nusky taking it back. So we have 2 very distinct battles going on here. Deska ever so slightly ahead of nehyzo. Who's going to keep the gear? Both of them keep the gear. You can hear that. And nehyzo with a slightly better line. So this is going to be 2 fantastic times, I think, from these players. Oh, but Deska with a little bit more speed, so he's going to make it, and he's going to take it ahead of nehyzo, both with great times. Wow, great race between these 2 players. Just fantastically executed. So now with 1 more round left on this map, we'll have Deska keeping a slight lead by only 4 points ahead of nehyzo. And the other 2 are getting left behind in the dust points-wise, but they haven't been driving that poorly either, so we'll see how this turns out. Deska with a nice drop into the turn there. nehyzo is taking this uphill with losing the gear, but I think that's expected. But he wasn't able to hold that gear, so actually he didn't want to lose that gear, so that is going to cost him a little bit of time. So he's trailing Deska here again. We have Nusky and Velv both being a little bit too far behind to catch up, really, but Nusky ahead of Velv enough such that he can probably keep a 4-pointer. nehyzo getting a bump and losing the gear. Deska keeping a nice lead, so Deska might be on a really good time. Let's see here what he can do, keeping that gear in the downhill, and Deska gets a 1:04.41. Nice time for Deska. nehyzo coming in 2nd. Nusky getting that 3rd place, and Velv coming in 4th. So, yeah, we're getting to a point where Deska's pulling ahead just a little bit. He only got 6 points on 1 round, and he won all the other 3, so good job. Excuse me. Good job from Deska. Now we're moving on to a slightly easier map as far as completion goes. We have Unruly by nehyzo, and this is a more Gear 4 map. It seems like after you get past a certain point, you are stuck in Gear 4 for the entire map. So that's kind of the unique identity to this map, really. It was what made it kind of hard for us to decide whether or not we wanted to use it, because it is just such a almost plain map in the fact that you don't really have to worry about gears as much as long as you keep a decent line. So it's not that bad of a map. It's just a little easier, a little bit of a break for these players. They don't have to focus on their gears as much. They can just focus on their lines. So Deska here in the warm-up with a nice little lead. Let's go back and take a look at Velv. Velv, a player for Pokey, whatever that is. Maybe Pokemane Club. She plays Trackmania. Yes, this is a pretty fun map. I will give it that, because it's a nice and simple map, so makes sense. Alright, moving on to map number 2, we have Unruly by nehyzo. Like I was saying, this one should be easy for most players, and we might see a lot of close fights. So let's get into this. Velv trying to get that no slide, but he messes it up. So let's go up to Nusky and see how he's doing. Nusky using the parrot skin from Royal game mode. Very nice. Looks very cool. Got nehyzo with a very strong lead ahead of Deska. So let's keep our eyes on Nusky here for a little bit. Nusky not really keeping up the pace quite with them yet. He's lost a little bit of time Seems like Deska, let's take a look at Deska. He might be closing in on nehyzo if he can risk this just a little bit more. And it seems like he is. He's actually going for more inside line, and it looks like Deska might be able to take over nehyzo here if he just gets a little bit more speed, and he goes lower for the jump, so he gets it! Barely passing nehyzo in the end. What a great race. Wow. By 0.01. Deska keeps that lead ahead of nehyzo. And nehyzo's got to be getting a little frustrated here, because nehyzo is playing well. Deska is just playing ever so slightly better. So this is really all it comes down to in competition sometimes, is that one player can just be a little bit better than you, you know, and just they're putting it together, putting together their runs just slightly better than you, and that's all it takes. So nehyzo probably a little bit annoyed by that, but it's all right. He's doing good in this round. So Deska is going for a little bit more of a tight line. nehyzo's going to have way more speed out of that. nehyzo is going to greatly benefit from going wider there, and this is looking great for nehyzo. Deska taking that more inside line like we saw before, so he's going to keep a little bit more speed. Maybe he's going for that attack on nehyzo again. Deska getting a little bit more speed because he goes wider. Deska getting a little bit more of a hop, but Deska might be able to take this against nehyzo. nehyzo going for more of an attack, but Deska is going to go lower, and he's going to take it from nehyzo again with a 56.28. Wow. What a nice time and another good race. This has got to be infuriating for nehyzo now. Losing 2 rounds in a row, that's 8 points lost to Deska just from being ever so slightly slower at that one turn. This has to be doing a bit of a toll on his mentality in this round now. He's sitting there with 40 points, which is a nice amount of points, but Deska is just able to push that little bit more at the end to get that little bit more speed that he needs to pass nehyzo. And this is all that it takes to keep pulling away from him. And let's go up there and take a look at Nusky. Deska making a touch. So this will be the opportunity for nehyzo to keep ahead of Deska. And we're seeing a real battle here now between all these players. Nusky keeping his lead against velv, who made a slight mistake now. So now nehyzo is probably thinking, finally, I'm not going to get sniped with a 56.4. Nice time from him. You know, a little bit slower than the other round. It's got to be annoying when you drive slower, but you end up winning the round, versus when you drove just a very nice time of a low 0.2, and that wasn't enough. So nehyzo finally getting some points he deserves. Velv and Nusky, on the other hand, are right next to each other as far as points goes. nehyzo making a mistake early in that round there. So nehyzo is only 10 points behind Deska. So it's looking very good for both these players to get into that first and second place and go into the semifinals for tomorrow. But they still need some work to do. Right now they're kind of just doing a bit of a show match against each other, saying, okay, who's the better player here? You know, trying to flex on each other a little bit. And currently Deska is definitely flexing harder than nehyzo, at least in this round. Deska with a nice time, it seems like. I don't know if nehyzo made any mistakes early on, but this is looking like a round for Deska. All he has to do is not make any mistakes. nehyzo going for a really hard attack there, but he had to drift at the end to cancel it, so he ends up slowing down quite a bit. Deska with only a 56.5, so not a great time, but it's definitely enough to, you know, get that first place, and that's all you need to worry about in a match. Deska with 70 points, nehyzo with 56. Now we're moving on to map number 3, which is going to be Back to the Roots by Azeroth. This map is probably the hardest one, especially with a little bit of a weird end. And it's a little bit interesting to see how this end shakes up players and their runs, because, you know, looking at this from an overview, we can look at this and see that, you know, you can either turn and make the jump, or you can try to jump down and go going to the safe finish. Now the safe finish is only a little bit slower. So players really could just take the safe finish if they felt like it. But I don't think we see most players take it, because there's not much valor to that. Nehyzo. Avondale taking the safe finish, as we saw in match number 1. Yeah, this risky finish is annoying. It was one of the things that made me doubt putting this map into the pack, but I figured, hey, I like the rest of the map, so let's do it. So good luck to these players. Let's get a look at Nusky to start with in this round. He's only 26 points behind the rest. Ooh, nehyzo touching on the inside. He's going to be out this round. Deska potentially taking an easy victory in this round. But then again, whoa, velv with a very, very fast approach. Getting a speed boost out of nowhere and just catching up just like that to Deska. So he's only 0.2 behind, but he has a better angle going into this turn. He's going to have the better gear, but he gets a little bit of a lift off. He's in the right gear though, so he still has a chance. He's getting a little bit of a sloppy line there, so he might not be able to hold on to it, and especially with nehyzo who's coming up behind him. Nehyzo is going to probably go for the attack, but he touches on the outside. So velv is going to stay ahead here. We have velv versus Deska in this last jump, and velv gets it in Deska with a 52.99. Not a bad time. So, moving on. We have 80 points for Deska, 60 for nehyzo, 34 and 33 for velv and Nusky. So this is not looking good for these two players. Deska and nehyzo are just very dominant in this match. You know, Deska is showing a little bit more pace and consistency compared to nehyzo, but nehyzo is also not doing too bad, so we can't really fault him for this. You know, they're not doing. nehyzo isn't doing anything wrong. He's just getting beaten out by Deska ever so slightly, except for this round where he does do something wrong, and now velv and Nusky are both able to pass him. So, yep. The nehyzo is going to be out of this round. Let's take a look at Deska and see what type of time he can do here. Ooh, he gets a weird landing, and actually that gives an opportunity for velv to catch up a little bit. Let's see what he can do. Deska makes the jump into the finish. 53.2. Some pretty slow times in this round. Let's see if nehyzo can finish. nehyzo does finish. Great. So nehyzo at 63 points. He's got to make sure he can stay ahead of velv, because velv is velv isn't slow. You know, he might be, you know, making some mistakes and not quite keeping the same pace, but he's not slow. So nehyzo has to keep his head up and focus a little bit, because nehyzo could lose this to velv or Nusky if he's not careful. And it looks like this round he is doing just that. He's keeping a nice nice pace here. Paying attention, being alert, trying to stay ahead of Deska. He's gets a little bit of a bump, but that's okay. He's still ahead in pace-wise, because watch this, he goes up and he's right there with him. Oh, this is neck and neck, these two players. There's no telling who's going to win this round. Deska with a little bit of a better line, though. Deska with a way better line, actually, in the long term. So now Deska is going to try to make this jump, and he does with a 52.5. Not a bad time at all. So Deska getting a nice time, and he's up to 100 points, so he's really pulling ahead of nehyzo. Now nehyzo probably losing some of that confidence that he had in the beginning to Deska, and this is not really good for your mentality to see another player as such a great threat to you. Fortunately, he won't be going against him in the next round, but this is something that he'll definitely want to, you know, pay attention to and try to, you know, maybe if he makes it through for tomorrow and he gets past the semifinals, he'll want to, you know, think, okay, I'm going to be possibly facing Deska after this. So what's going to happen then? I'll have to, you know, get some sort of level of confidence. And Deska making a mistake, so nehyzo is going to take this round probably. This is good for him. We are going to see nehyzo with a 52.7, Deska with a 54, still ahead of Nusky and Velv. So Nusky and Velv kind of falling apart here. Nusky with 44 and Velv with 47. nehyzo looking pretty solid here. But now we're going back to the first map. Maybe this will be good for nehyzo. nehyzo was looking pretty solid on the first map as far as I could tell. So we'll see which players are able to pull through. So in this next round, we will see Deska with 106. So really all he has to do is win one round and come, you know, at least third in another, and he will be a finalist. So ideally, all he has to do is just win one round, then finish the next round, not in last, and he will have a chance at finalist. So this is looking really good for Deska to come in first. Unless nehyzo can do something. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at Velv, actually. Velv going for a way wider line, probably trying his best to just keep that gear. nehyzo going for that inside line that is superior to Deska's, as usual. But Deska is faster throughout the rest of the map if he can catch up. So, yes, he gets a little bit more speed there. Only 0.06 behind. Deska keeping it so smooth up that hill. Deska just keeping very nice, relaxed lines through this map, and you can see how that's paying off. He's just a little bit ahead of nehyzo, but that's going to be enough for him to get a first if he can just stay this little bit ahead of him. Oh, but Deska gets a slight bump, so nehyzo is 0.02 behind. nehyzo is ever so slightly ahead, and now you get these players are basically neck and neck going into the final turn. nehyzo going for a much wider approach, probably going for some more speed. Oh, but Deska's going to keep the speed, and Deska gets a first place with a 104.5. Nice job from Deska. And yes, this is Impact by Firestorm. Firestorm being a TMGL mapper, so it is a very nice map. Taking a look at Nusky now. We haven't looked at him that much. He's only at 48 points, so it's looking dire for him. Deska making an early mistake. All he has to do, though, is get fourth, and it looks like he might, because we see a mistake from Velv as well. So Deska is in that third position, exactly what he needs to move up into finalist mode. So he can just take it easy, and nehyzo is going to want to use these 10 points to leverage as much power as he can against Deska in the next rounds. So we will see how these players do. So nehyzo getting into the right gear there. He will probably take this first place. nehyzo or Deska is catching up though at every checkpoint, just a little bit. Ever so slightly, Deska is just getting closer. You can see that 0.68 to 0.56, 0.5 to 0.43 to 0.39 to 0.25. Wow. Deska's pace is just insane. Even with, you know, an early mistake where he was 0.7 behind, he goes up to 0.25 behind. Where nehyzo was driving perfectly fine, so now Deska has a shot at getting this position number 1. We'll see. Can he continue this momentum. nehyzo, getting it not so great there. Deska is looking to have a better exit speed here, and he does. You see that red on the back of his car. It means he's in finalist. We have Velv going for more of an attack, but I don't think he's going to have enough speed, so let's take a look from nehyzo's perspective. He made a mistake, so let's look at Velv. Velv was the only one who can deny Deska the victory here. So we'll see Velv come in and do yet another turn, and Deska just has a superior line there. He's going to have a little bit more speed. Deska with just a little bit more speed out of every turn, pulling away more and more from 0.23 to 0.38, but he makes a mistake, so Velv now has the opportunity to deny Deska. All he has to do is stay ahead of Deska. Deska here being passed by nehyzo as well, so this is going to be great if nehyzo can keep ahead of him. And he will. So nehyzo getting the 10-pointer and Velv making the mistake somehow. So that is huge for nehyzo, moving up to 105. So nehyzo can still win this. He just has to win 3 more rounds in a row to 115, 120, and then victory. And that's all he needs. So let's take a look at Deska here. Deska keeping this speed into the start. nehyzo is with both of them not getting exactly the lines they wanted. Deska's going to go way wider. He's going to have so much more speed than nehyzo. But then again, nehyzo might have a better line here, which in the long term, it looks like they're about the same. Deska is only 0.04 ahead of nehyzo. So nehyzo, even though he might see that 02 on the back of his car, he's going to see a 1 right here, and that should be enough for him to realize he is still in this. He needs to push a little bit because Deska is got a much better entrance there, whereas nehyzo is falling behind, and Deska, all he has to do is finish this up, and he will have victory. Deska with 1 more turn. Deska will win match number 4. GG. So now nehyzo has to just win 2 more rounds and he will be through. And we will have our semifinals set for tomorrow. We're moving on to the next map. We're going to be moving on to the 5th map. And really this entire time we've basically just had nehyzo versus Deska. So it seems unlikely that Velv or, you know, Nusky will have interesting line from nehyzo. nehyzo probably relaxed now, you know, maybe not really relief, but also just the feeling of like, well, what can I do now? He won, so let me get second. He's going to take it easy and probably relax through this next round here. So let's take a look at Nusky again. Nusky has the zebra skin now. Interesting, interesting. Second is better. Second could be viewed as better, depending on who you are. It will be interesting if Deska goes out in his round and then nehyzo goes through in his semifinal. That would be very interesting. Alright, so moving on, we have, from Nusky's perspective, we have nehyzo in 111. He has to win this round if he wants to get into finalist in the next round. So he better keep his pace up, which he has. Velv with an early mistake. Nusky keeping an alright pace, but nehyzo just having that superior line at the start. So nehyzo is going to keep it, getting a really nice outside line. Nusky touching, so let's just watch nehyzo as he potentially glides into that finalist spot. nehyzo keeping it nice and cool, collected, driving normal lines, not risking too much. nehyzo being not the favorite for this match, but he was, you know, someone I had my eye on for sure. I was thinking he had the potential to beat Deska. And I still think he does. He just needs to get his confidence up, and, you know, if he ends up meeting Deska in the finals, he will need that. Not yet. Not a GG yet. He is in finalist, so the only way that he could lose this, really, is if Nusky and Velv went back and forth and beat him like 10 rounds in a row. So we see an early mistake from nehyzo, but it's not out and over for him yet. He's only 0.25 for. So nehyzo actually making a comeback. He made a touch in the start, but he's all the way up to just being neck and neck with these players. So that shows you how his pace is actually, you know, quite fast here. And even though it might be, we might have been watching him versus Deska, like you see this and you see, oh, he's still a good player. He's making a mistake there though, so Velv is the only one who can deny him. Velv, ooh, making a little bit of a bump. nehyzo might have more speed here. It all depends on this entry. And nehyzo with a little bit more, but Velv keeps it with a 57.000. So he's not through yet. Velv still has some power in his hands. We see nehyzo going in. He didn't touch this time, so he's all set for the first turn. We see him releasing so that he doesn't get the gear, and that is superior to trying to hold that gear and then go up to the next one, because you really don't want that in that turn. If Velv wins this, it would be crazy. It'd be a crazy comeback. But it is possible. But Velv is kind of in a problem position right now. He's 0.2 behind, but that's a lot on this map. Nusky is really the only one who can do something here, so let's see if Nusky can try to pass nehyzo in the end. Nusky with a superior line, but it looks like nehyzo is going to take it. nehyzo is your other qualifier for the semifinals. GG. So, there we go. And we move up to having a situation like this. Let's take a look. So, match 4, seed 1. Wait, what were the 81 and 74? Was that it?